I've seen a lot of criticism for Solo Leveling. Season 1 just released, and it did really well. It was hugely successful. I've been waiting years for it to get animated, and it's one of the most successful and popular manhwa of all time. By all metrics, it should be pretty damn great. So why are people calling it mid and saying that it doesn't live up to the hype? I've heard a number of people saying the story is generic, and they've seen it 1,000 times, and they think Jinwoo is just bland, just a boring protagonist with nothing interesting about him, and overall, they just find it boring. And honestly, some of the criticism isn't wrong. So why is it so massively successful? What actually makes Solo Leveling so good? With all the hype around Solo Leveling, I really can't blame you for thinking, is that it? Is this what we were waiting for? Apart from those last 2 episodes, it wasn't amazing. I can understand, like, compared to the hype around it, the first 10 episodes didn't live up to that. It reminds me of what happened with Tower of God. We've got this legendary manhwa, really successful, really popular. People hype it to oblivion. They hype it up so much that expectations get so high, but if it doesn't feel like it was animated by Jesus himself, people are going to be disappointed. I think something similar can definitely happen with Solo Leveling, where it's got such a huge fan base, people hype it up so much, their expectations get too high, you come in wanting it to be next most glorious thing you've ever seen, and it's not. Now, while making this video, I don't want to set expectations too high either, but I do want to talk about exactly what makes this anime so good. For me, it was years ago that I finished the light novel, but even after all those years, I still got excited when I heard that they were actually animating this. So if we haven't seen what makes Solo Leveling so good in Season 1, then what is it that makes it such a popular story? An anime where a normal guy, someone who's easy to root for, gains incredible powers and becomes this superhero. That's not just common. In anime, it's overdone, it's generic, it's oversaturated. We have so many of those. We're literally drowning in them. Every season, 4 or 5 new anime come out where some guy is gaining incredible powers and gets everything he wants out of life. But despite having kind of a similar story, Solo Leveling still stands out. One thing that's different is that Jinwoo doesn't just reincarnate, he doesn't just go inside a video game like SAO or Log Horizon. His life becomes a video game due to this mysterious system. Every gamer can imagine how great it would be if life literally became a video game. There's entire businesses based around gamifying real life to try and squeeze as much money as they can out of unhappy gamers. But most of these are just glorified to-do lists. They don't actually turn your real life into a video game. You don't actually gain buffs and benefits and potions and awesome weapons like you do in an actual video game. This is a power fantasy anime. It's supposed to make you feel powerful as you watch it, and this one succeeds in doing that. This is the sort of anime that makes you actually want to go out for a run and actually want to work out. But what makes it so able to do that is the fact that it's so easy to get behind Jinwoo as a character. At first, Jinwoo seems like the classic relatable anime protagonist. He's weak, he's unpopular, and he's not satisfied with his life, just like every other shonen protagonist. But as I get older, I'm relating less and less to anime protagonists, mostly because they're normally high school students. Being a grown man, I can relate a lot more to a guy just working a regular job, providing for his family. There's another big difference. Think about Naruto, Goku, or Luffy. All these guys are working towards extremely ambitious goals, like being Hokage, which is just like the president, being like the world's greatest pirate, the world's greatest fighter. These are all really unrealistic goals. They're the sort of goals that you're more likely to have when you're a kid, when you're a teenager. As an adult, someone just trying to pay the bills is a way more common and relatable goal, which is literally in the lyrics of the opening song. Which not only is relatable, but also a good reminder for something you may have been putting off. Solo Leveling is clearly aimed at an older audience, which leads to a lot more of a mature, sort of darker plot. It leads to a lot more brutal scenes and leaves out a lot of the sort of high school cringe we tend to see in a lot of anime. An adult protagonist gives us a darker plot and FBI-approved waifus. Although despite it being pretty violent, it's only rated 15 in the UK and 18 everywhere else. I guess we just don't give a damn here, despite caring so much about other things. You may need a license to butter your bread, but we'll let your kids watch whatever the hell they want. When it comes to the animation, most of the episodes did not blow me away. The first 10 episodes had pretty mid-tier animation. 11 and 12 though had really good animation. The animation there was spectacular, but it still didn't have the same wow factor that Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer tend to have. But it also proves that you don't need a budget of that scale to make an interesting, engaging animation. But to us, I still can't help but wonder how good it would be if it got the Mappa treatment, if every fight was done that well, to that degree of epicness. That would be something else. And with the fights in this anime, it really has the potential to blow up even bigger than it already is if it had animation of that quality. I definitely heard a lot of people criticizing the animation, saying that it's not that great. But is it actually not that bad? I mean, speaking as someone who started watching anime when the big three was still the big three, a lot of new anime fans are actually pretty spoiled when it comes to the animation quality they expect. And not in a bad way. We're in a golden age of animation. Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer are done so mind-bogglingly well that it just makes good animation seem bad. And some scenes are amazing, some are just... Maybe it's just me, but I feel like even I could have animated this scene. But honestly, this is fine because the important parts are done right. The action in Solo Leveling is fantastic, and obviously it's the main selling point. The fights are really good, they just have a lot of meaning behind them. He's not just throwing in random fights like a lot of anime do, where the main character will just fight some completely random person just to show off some new power they have, or just to try and make it more exciting. This has a real reason for every fight. There's plot in every fight, and it just makes it that much more exciting. We still have plenty of tropes in this anime, like all the female characters falling in love with him by episode 2, and for some reason people just gloss over pretty extreme differences in the protagonist, like the fact that he goes from Kevin Hart to the Great Khali in a very short space of time. People just sort of mention it once and then not again, or just treat it like it's normal, like people just randomly grow a foot taller when they're already adults, which is a bit strange. But these problems are really nothing in comparison to a lot of anime I saw coming out at the same time, especially with lines like, yeah, suddenly any flaw in Solo Leveling just doesn't seem that bad. Season 1 was only 12 episodes, and 12 episodes is just not enough. Honestly, 12 episodes isn't enough to really show how good it's going to be. It's more like a very long teaser trailer of what's to come. But so that I'm not committing the same crime I already mentioned with Tower of God, where I hype it up to oblivion and your expectations get higher than a mid-podcast Joe Rogan.
Make sure your baby's okay.
And now you're expecting so much that nothing can possibly live up to those expectations. To avoid that, it just gets worse from here. There's no plot, the story isn't very deep, full of tropes, the voice actors smell bad, and the director eats Kit Kats sideways. Alright, now that I've lowered your expectations, you should be able to enjoy it to the fullest. Have fun. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more.